welcome to Fucked Up Fables. If ruining your childhood is something you enjoy, then you've come to the right place. For this month, we're going to celebrate the trickery and mischief often found in stories, inspired by April Fool's Day.
Even though that was a while ago, we don't care.
From little fairies who tie your hair, which we discuss in the current Lost episode, to the Norse god Loki, who loves to play tricks on his fellow gods. Every culture has something to embody this idea. It's funny because the next question is, are you going to join tonight?
Are you going to join tonight?
So, Enkidu, who are we talking about today?
So today I'm going to tell you guys about a god from the Ashanti people, and his name is Anansi. He is known as the spider god. And yeah, I'm going to say it right now. I'm claiming him as the patron for this channel. Sorry, Dionysus, you have been removed.
Bye-bye, Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah, he reigned for a month. He was great. But I think by the end of this, you'll understand why I think that Anansi is a much better fit for our patron god.
Sounds like you're saying a Nazi.
No, Anansi. A-N-A-N-S-I.
I was going to say, we don't want a Nazi as our...
No, fuck Nazis. We don't want to do that. So for those who don't know, the Ashanti people are from West Africa, and one of the largest populations resides in present-day Ghana. And then they also moved down to the Caribbean, so there's a big population down in Jamaica and the Bahamas and stuff. Their culture is more like a harmony between magic and spiritualism. It reminds me a lot of Native American or South American culture, the way that they have gods, but they're not this rigid pantheon like the Greek and Roman gods, or even the Egyptian gods that have a much more structure. They're just kind of these beings that exist everywhere. So before we begin, I would just like to say that there are a lot of names that I omitted from this, not because they don't have names, but because I don't actually know how to say them, and I didn't want to butcher them, so I instead use a job or a title or what they represent rather than their actual name. If someone could tell me how to say them, that would be great, but it was hard enough just looking up information, so names did not happen. And content warning for spiders. That's all I got. This is literally going to be the mildest story.
I don't know. I think I have that crown. Is it milder?
Yes.
Than our Cluricon?
Yeah.
Well.
All right. Our story starts with, surprisingly, Anansi. We're not starting before Anansi. We're starting with Anansi. He is the son of his mother, Earth, and his father, Sky. So you have Earth and Sky. They are the personifications of those, not their actual names. So it's Gaia, Mother Earth, Father Sky, yada yada. I said he's a spider god, so he is part spider, part man. The two biggest depictions, that you most commonly see, is that either he is a giant spider with the head or a face of a man, or he's a man with spider legs. So whichever version is more comforting for you to imagine,
that one.
Go with it.
That one. I'll take spider legs.
I'm whichever works best for you, go with it. I know spiders are not everyone's thing. It makes sense, I promise. Anansi is running around, and he has his hair flowing in the wind as he's playing with mortals and having this blast. So he lives on the earthly realm, if you will. And this kind of starts to get boring after a while. And so when he takes a look around to see why no one's really having fun and nothing's really happening, he realizes that it's because they don't have stories. People aren't telling stories, they don't have stories to tell, and he doesn't like that. Yeah, won't do.
I don't like
that. So he butt flosses his way up to his. I had to put it in here.
to Arai.
It is. It's our D&D reference.
Say, for those who don't know, Arai Soen is my druid from D&D, and I like to be a giant spider, and we call it butt floss.
Yep.
For the webbing.
So I just like imagine this spider dude. He butt flosses his way up into the sky so he can go and meet his dad. You know, hey daddy, what's up? Now he does this, so like it's not just him going up there for no reason. He does this because he knows that his father actually has a box, and this box holds all of the stories in the world. So they're all contained inside of this box, and his father is the only one who has access to it. So when he arrives, his dad is both like surprised and proud to see Anansi there, because getting up to him is an impossible task on its own. So for him to like do that and then approach him is just kind of like this really bold statement. I don't know what he attached his butt floss to in the sky, but he did it. I don't know.
He just aimed and shot straight up.
Yeah. He asks Anansi what he wants, and when Anansi tells him that he wants the stories in the box, he kind of grows a little bit uneasy because he doesn't want to give up the stories. I don't know why, he just is being greedy. But he decides that he will make a deal with his son, since he had the ability to like make it up to him and approach him and just ask this of him. So he tells him that if he completes 4 tasks, he will give him the box and all the stories inside of it. And if we have learned anything about the gods making deals, it's that they're not going to be easy tasks. Or Nazi. So these are seen as impossible tasks, even by his own father, who gave them to him. Now, the 4 tasks are that Anansi must bring 4 different beings or creatures to him, which immediately makes me think of Hercules and his trials, and especially when he brought the boar to the king, and then the king freaked out and was like, nah, you can leave all your offerings at the gate now. Okay, thanks. I was just like, where's this going to go from here? Okay, so the 4 things that need to be brought are Onini, which is a giant python snake thing. This leopard, whose name I don't know how to say, so he's just going to be called the leopard. The deadly Maburo hornets. And lastly, this invisible fairy, who is known for being very quick to anger and very greedy. So easy peasy, lemon squeezy. First up, we have Onini. So Onini lives all curled up in this cave. So Anansi goes to visit him and stands outside of the cave, and he gets this brilliant idea to trick the snake to leave his cave. He starts to loudly argue with himself, all Gollum style. So he's like, no, it isn't. Yes, it is. And like on and on, going back and forth. And finally, Onini is like, what the fuck is going on outside? Like, stop it. So he like peeks his head out and is like, hey, what's going on, guys? And Anansi tells him that his wife thinks that this stick that he is holding is bigger than Onini, but he thinks that Onini is bigger than the stick. His wife is not there. I'm just assuming he changed his voice, and that's why he says this, because Onini doesn't question it. He's just like, oh, of course, I'm the bigger thing. Like, let's prove your wife wrong. Let me just slither out here and prove it, right? But Anansi is like, that's all well and good, but you can't make yourself super straight. Like, you're still gonna have these like little bumps, so it's not an accurate like measurement of who's bigger. But if we tie you to the stick, we can definitely figure out which one is longer, right? And Onini's like, yeah, that sounds right. Okay. And so Anansi ties him to a stick, and he's yeah, and Onini is unable to move, and thus Anansi has captured him by catering to his vanity.
Question.
Yes.
Which was longer?
I'm going to go with Onini. It doesn't say, because when I hear like a giant python, I know that they're not the same, but I just think like a giant anaconda. And I don't think you're going to be finding like a 50-foot long stick anywhere. So
those are called trees?
Yeah, so I just assume that Onini is bigger, but because he's strapped to this long stick, he can't move. So that's just me. I don't actually know. Next up, we have this leopard that I can't pronounce the name of. So he's a super strong dude. So, oh, Nini. So Anansi has to find a way to kind of use that against him because Anansi is not strong. He is a spider. So he's got to combat this somehow. He decides that he's going to dig this really deep pit that the cat can fall into but can't jump out of. So he digs this pit and then I guess like covers it up a little bit and leaves. And then he returns the next day and he finds that the leopard is in fact stuck in this and he's at the bottom and he's trying to get out and he asks Anansi for help. The leopard's like,
Class to the rescue.
yeah, he was like, help, help, I'm being oppressed. And Anansi's like, okay, I'll help you. And the leopard is like, oh my god, yes, I am starving. I've been stuck down here for forever.
Poor
So
baby.
Anansi makes a rope from his butt floss and he lowers it down. So the leopard starts to climb up it. And as he starts climbing, he finds himself getting stuck. So like his paws aren't coming off and his tail gets stuck. So he starts struggling, trying to use like his incredible strength to break free. But every time he struggles, he gets more of him trapped in this web. And instead of like moving further up, he gets fully trapped in this web, cocoon style, like Shelob. And Anansi pulls him free, and now he has 2 of the 4 beings. So he used his brains to outwit the brawn of the leopard. So next up, murder hornets. They're not actually more murder hornets. They're probably like normal hornets, but 2020 apocalypse bingo. I had to include murder hornets. Murder hornets is hard to say. What the hell? Anyways, Anansi has to figure out a way to capture this whole like colony without being attacked. So I have to say for the record, this is probably the smartest thing that he does. So he grabs a gourd and he cuts a hole in it and then like takes the like piece that he cut out, like the little piece, and makes it into a plug. So like it'll plug up. So then he gets some water and he pours it on himself and then saves a little bit and he pours it on the nest that the hornets are in, which causes them to all come out and freak out because water and hornets' nests don't mix at all. So Nazi starts screaming, the rain has come early, the rain, oh my god, it's raining, and he tells them to quickly hide inside this gourd and they'll be safe from the rain. So the hornets do so quickly because they don't want to get wet. I get it because it like messes with their wings, I think. Or is that just bees? That's all flying things, right? Like they don't really fly in the rain.
I thought they could, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. Anyway,
but I do know water really pisses off bees.
Yeah, and I know like for wasps and stuff, it like ruins their like nest things because it's like that really thin papery stuff. So I don't know. Anyways, they're freaking out because of the rain, so they fly inside this gourd, and once they're all inside, he closes it up, and wham bam, murder hornets are captured. I was like, that's actually pretty impressive. Like I gotta say, that was some quick.
I was thinking it was like a little gourd, and now I'm like, it's probably a bit bigger than I was imagining.
Well, I don't know. Like I don't. How many hornets are normally like in a nest? Like
I don't know, hundreds.
I have no idea. It just said a gourd, but like a gourd can be like pretty big, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they come in various sizes. But I was thinking like a little
mini
gourd for your water. But I'm thinking this is more of like a not pocket gourd.
Yeah, I was thinking more like Gaara from Naruto because he wears like the gourd full of sand on his back. That's kind of what I envision when I hear the word gourd.
That's a large gourd.
Yeah, so it's probably somewhere in between. I don't know. They gotta have some room, right?
Yeah, maybe. Does he care? Does he care about these creatures?
I don't know. They don't have any air inside this gourd, so
he doesn't care about these creatures.
He is a spider, to be fair. And now we have reached the 4th task, which is this fairy. Anansi knows that this fairy, blah, 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 blah. JK.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Anansi knows of this fairy and knows that it has a particular weakness for yam paste. Don't ask.
I like switchtails.
I mean, yeah, I like them too. So he lays a trap. And this trap is that he makes a baby out of gum. So he makes like a little doll out of gum. Bear, stay with me. And he sets it down and puts a bowl of yam paste in its lap. Then he like climbs up above it and attaches his web to the head of the baby so that he can like kind of control it a little bit. And then a little bit later on, the fairy comes by. Remember, this fairy is invisible, so we can't actually see the fairy. And it sees the food. So it approaches and it talks. So like he still can't see it, but he can hear it. And it asks the baby if it can have the yams. And Anansi pulls on the strings, like the baby's head nods. And so the fairy greedily devours this food. And then when it's all gone, all gone. It's all gone. When it's all gone, it smiles at the baby and says, "Thank you." Now, when it says thank you, there is no response. So the fairy starts to go a little mad and feels like it's being disrespected. So louder it says, "Thank you." And again, there is no response because it's a gum baby. I guess it looked really realistic. I don't know. So now, furious, the little fairy slaps the baby.
Just slaps the baby.
But when she does this, her hand gets stuck. So then she tries to use her other hand to hit the baby to get her first hand free, which of course causes that one to get stuck. So then she flies into this fury, fighting against this baby made of gum until she is completely stuck to it and can't escape. So Anansi has now captured all four beings. So he gathers them up and takes them to the sky and presents them to his father. And seeing that the tasks are complete, he hands over the box of stories to Anansi. And with this box, he's able to bring stories and joy to people, and he is labeled the king of stories, the god of storytelling that you call on when you start a story. Now, because of this whole story, we're using story a lot here. So because of all of this, most of the stories by the Ashanti people are told orally, which is why finding written ones can be really tricky. But I was like, that's why he is also the perfect patron for us, because he's who you would call upon like before you start a story to help you like empower it and like your muse and everything. But but if your story is boring, he will just straight up leave you alone. He's like, nope, don't like that, bye. And then it just like, no, yeah. You don't want a boring story for him.
At least he doesn't like curse you or anything.
No, he's pretty chill about it. Like he's a pretty cool guy, just all things considered. So that's like the origin story of Anansi and kind of stories. There is one other one that is very common among the Ashanti people, and then like each individual like grouping of them has like their own other stories. So this is the only other one that I really know. So I was like, I'll do this one. So this one involves one of his sons. Don't know how to say his name. He's just going to be referred to as his son. Yeah. All right. So the blah, 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 blah. Sorry, my note was really confusing for a second, and then I had a thought, and I decided not to go with that thought. So the sky had given Anansi a pot filled with wisdom, and he asked that he share it with the world. But Anansi didn't really want to share it. It wasn't like he was greedy or anything like that, but what he would do is every day he would open up the pot, look inside of it, and take out a new piece of wisdom, and then like tuck it away for himself and keep it because makes you wiser and everything. So he didn't really see the need to like share it with other people. He was like, it benefits me and I can use it to benefit other people. So it's kind of the same thing, but not really. And because he starts learning all of these new things and gaining all of this wisdom, he decides that he needs to put the pot in a safe place, because if he doesn't, then other people could accidentally get into it, and who knows what they could do with this knowledge, right? So he's what? Oh, okay, I said us. This is a rough one, I'm sorry. So he has this need to keep it to himself, but also he wants to honor his father's request. So he has this like battle going on between himself that starts to wear on him. So one of his sons sort of catches on that there's something going on with Anansi. Like he sees him like pacing around and kind of talking to himself and being a little bit more depressed than normal. And so one day when Anansi leaves home, he decides that he wants to follow him to see what's going on so that he can try and help his dad. Anansi had decided that day to take the pot and hide it up in a tree that only he would be able to find. Now, this story is where, depending on which version of Anansi you went with, might be real confusing. Throwing it out there. So he finds this perfect tree and he uses these vines to make a rope that he can climb up. But he couldn't get very high, which was a problem because he needed to be up high. The reason that he couldn't get very high is because he's holding this pot in one arm while trying to climb with the other. So this is why, like, depending on the version of Anansi you're thinking of, this might be a little weird to imagine why it's difficult. So if you can't picture it, just think of the other version. That's what we're going with.
Yeah. I went with the spider leg one, so.
Yeah. Like when I was rereading the story, I was just like, but wait, he's half spider, so like I don't understand. And I'm like, okay, I think
it's like the mermaid question. Which part is actually fish?
Yeah, is it a surf and turf meal? What's going on here? So after seeing his dad struggle for so long, his son finally steps out from his hiding place to help his father. And he says, Dad, why not use a vine to tie the pot to your back and then you can climb easier to the top? So Anansi's startled, but then he realizes that this is like the perfect idea. So he does just that. He takes a vine, ties it to his back, and with his arms both free now, he's able to climb up to the top of the tree. So he gets up there and he sits down. He's getting ready to like tie the pot up there. I don't know how he intends to tie the pot up there, but he intends to do that. And he realizes that his son had given him some really great advice and done it simply because he wanted to help, not because he was going to be getting something in return. So this revelation shows Anansi that wisdom is more powerful when it's shared with other people. So he decides to drop the pot and it shatters on the ground, which then spreads wisdom across the world. And that's the second story.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, those are the two most common stories for Anansi. He is probably one of the biggest deities in the Ashanti culture, probably also the most popular. I do believe that the Sandman series, don't know about the TV show. No, not Sandman.
I didn't know they made a TV show of Sandman.
I'm like, wait a second, not that. American Gods. That's what it is.
Okay.
I believe that he is, I don't know if he's in the TV show or in the book, but he, I believe, is a character in that. He's in a couple of other pop culture things, but like I said, he's one of the bigger ones. So during the slave trade of Africans to America, he actually became really popular among the African slaves who would use his stories to like help tell their own. So being the storyteller and like a trickster who uses his wit to overcome any obstacle, it like makes a lot of sense that enslaved people would try and call upon this very powerful being to give them that like knowledge and help them through those dark times, let them have some like semblance of happiness and kind of like help to give stories for their kids to, like entertain themselves with when they didn't really have much, and showed that like a little wit and ingenuity they could kind of overcome so much, which as we know, like the enslaved Africans had like their own culture, their own beliefs, and a lot of it came from like kind of like a mesh of their African heritage mixed with, I guess, the Christian teachings here in America or whatever we were believing at the time, Puritans, whatever it was.
I don't know.
I know that a lot of it like kind of like they kind of
Christianity.
Yeah, they like blend a lot of their beliefs, which is kind of like where we get like some of the weird crossovers here here in America. But my hair, I'm sorry. Anyways, so yeah, that was literally all I had. It was super short, but I thought that it was kind of like a perfect person to introduce and show that like trickery doesn't have to be like evil or malevolent.
Well,
It can
I
kind of
don't know what happened to those animals. What did he do? Were they tortured for all of eternity?
he left them up with Sky Daddy. I don't know. But yeah, I really considered doing Loki, but then I thought that like Loki would be too long and he kind of needs his own month. Like Loki goes through a lot of shit.
Loki month.
Loki needs his own month. He goes through a lot of shit. So I was like, this would be like a short, cute little one. Like I said, it's pretty pure. There ain't nothing really going on in it. I mean,
It's a very harmonious episode.
yeah. And even my content warning wasn't really much like there's no actual spiders other than Anansi. Like nothing else
You
happened.
kind of forget that he is half spider.
Yeah, especially in the second one. I think the first time I ever heard the second story, I was like, oh, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And then I was like, wait a second. Was he always a spider god? Like, I was just like, wait, I'm so confused. What? So, I mean, there might be a story where like he wasn't always a spider god, but my understanding is that he always was. And that's why I was like, the second story is a little weird when you try to think about like, why can't he climb up this tree with a pot?
He's a spider, like spiders climb things.
Yeah, I guess.
And they will hold things with like, their back legs.
Yeah, I was like, it is definitely a little weird to kind of like envision, but I was like, if you imagine that it's like the half body thing and he's holding it and trying to like pull himself, I was like, that makes a little bit more sense, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
look how nice we can be sometimes.
I know, right?
So my story next week is undecided. It's probably going to be from fairy because let's be real, 99% of fairy is trickery.
I'm like, that is like the perfect thing to delve into. And I love when you talk about the fairies. Like that is hands down probably my favorite episode we've done was the fairy episode. And also the Cluricon. I love the Cluricon.
Cluricon!
My man, he was so cute. But I'm like,
then hopefully you'll love next episode. I just can't decide where to start. So
I like the way you did it before. You just like took like a handful of fairies to talk about and just
yeah, I'll probably do something like that again, pick a couple and just talk about those because there's not typically like one long overarching story with fairy. Yeah. It's like there's this type of fairy and this is what they do, or there's like one-off stories of like this person ran across the Cluricon.
yeah, it'll be kind of cool. I like it.
But yeah, I'm super excited though because I get to go back. I'm probably gonna do Irish because Irish is fun. But yeah, so I guess that's all that we have.
Yeah, lots of fun. I guess we'll see you guys.
Sweet, to the point. Guess we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.